Happy Monday, everybody. Hey, I wanted to share a couple things. I have just released my podcast, Fit Chick Cancer Thriver. I did a blog on it a couple days ago. I'm doing a series called Chronic Beauty, and it's kind of a cathartic thing for me. I'm going to be writing a little bit about some hard things, some real things, what it's like to be somebody who's sick and what it's like to be the caretaker of somebody who's sick. I think that during the time of myself having cancer and then Philip being sick, there has been a lot of there's a lot of loneliness to that road, especially if you have a rare illness. And the ironic thing is, it wasn't just that I have a husband that's sick. I also have two of my best friends have rare diseases as well. So it's just like sometimes you go, I wonder why God is putting something in my life. What is it for? And it's funny because I couldn't find the book on it. Here's a quick synopsis. I had cancer. We were newly married, blended family. You had these worlds colliding, thinking God's going to bless the broken road. And then 6 hours after my last cancer treatment, Philip goes into the hospital. And you're just kind of in a situation where we didn't even understand what was going to be the road before us. So, it's been almost 5 years since I've had cancer, and, he's still dealing with a lot of his pain, but I've had some more perspective this year. And so I wanted to share just 3 pieces of, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, advice, wisdom, whatever it is, just my perspective on what you can do when you stand at the aisle and you say, or at the altar and you say, for better or worse. Sometimes we don't understand the impact, because what happens when it gets worse? And it got worse for us really, really fast. We went into marriage with already some strikes because I had, cancer, and he was an amazing caregiver. He taught me a lot. I am definitely not the natural caregiver. I'm like the motivator, the let's go, let's do this. He's wonderful when it comes to that. So I had these thoughts as I was driving back from the chiropractor, because I want to jump on live and just share a couple things with you guys. If you haven't read my blog, I put it up like last week. It's called For Better or Worse, and my podcast just released all about again, for better or worse, and what the experience has been like. And I'm not going to say that I have all the wisdom in the world, but I'll tell you what, I could not find the book on it. I could not find the book on 2 people at the ages that we were at and the circumstances that we were at that I could really have somebody come alongside of me and say, it's going to be okay. So, I hope out of this, something amazing happens. I really think that God can do amazing things. And, whether it be, a support group or whatever. So here's the thing. Number 1, what can you do during the worst of the worst, especially when you're dealing with a chronic illness, whether it's a spouse or a child or a parent, whatever it is. Here's a couple things I learned. Number 1, compassion. And it sounds like a really, really simple word, right? So I looked it up. I was like, let's see what it really means. And, it's to show concern. It's to show help and kindness to somebody. And sometimes we are more compassionate to the people that we see on the Today Show or on a story on Facebook, or, back in the day in Oprah, than we are to the people that are around us. And I see that. And I think in some ways it's because when they're intimately close with us, they're a daughter, they're, our father, they're our spouse. It's so hard for us because it affects us so much, and it's painful. It's a painful thing. We want to take their pain away. But the best thing you can do is show them that you want to help. Invest in what they're struggling with. If they have a rare disease and you have no idea what it is, like I had no idea what CRPS is, like at all when Philip got that. We had no clue. Another friend of mine is dealing with issues with mold and just immune system issues. No idea. But I tell you what, the people that you're with, they will so appreciate it if you are willing to cry with them, to be compassionate with them, to take a look at what they are fighting? What are they up against? And try to be the solution maker, like you would maybe reach out to another person and say, gosh, I have a reference for you. I have a person. I have something I heard of. Like, be that person for them. It will mend your relationship. I see people posting things about kindness. Be kind. Be kind. Show kindness. I know it's frustrating. I get it. Totally get it. It is frustrating because you have lost your partner, you have lost your dreams, you have lost all your hopes that you thought was your marriage was going to look like, or your child, having a child, or maybe just it's letting go of your parents, your parents maybe who have Alzheimer's or whatever. Show compassion. That's number one. Number two, have no expectations. This could be across the board. This is one of the biggest problems in relationships, is how many expectations that we go into it. And this is about us, okay? This is about you, the person that's watching this. You have to really be aware of yourself to understand, what expectations am I bringing into this relationship? And to start to be really curious about that, because no expectations are about accepting your circumstance as it is. And, stop wanting to be right. Stop comparing. The comparing game is a lose-lose battle every single time. You will always have a winner or loser. So if you're on Facebook or Instagram, or you're looking at your friend's life and you're thinking, because I've done this, I have looked at, I'll tell you right now, I have listened to people who are just sharing, their lives with me as a trainer, and they're telling me about what they're doing with their husbands, and they're going here and they're going there. I can't tell you the pain that feels inside of my heart, knowing that I am unable to do those things with my husband, especially after being, I had been single for 6 years before we got married. And so I was looking forward to having a life, to be able to do all these things. So I get it. I feel like it's very easy to compare, their highlight reel to our real lives. But we all are going to struggle. We all are going to face those things. So, it's a loser's battle whenever we compare. Focusing on the process rather than the outcome is always helpful, to have no expectations. And I think you have to go into things, if you're going to have expectations, I would say, because I'm like, how do you do that, right? How do you really not have expectations? But I think it's okay to have hopeful expectations rather than demanding a specific result. Because when you can lead with hope, I think then you can lead with kindness. And I think you can stay in the battle with your partner. You can stay together. You can stand together strong. You're so much stronger together than you are fighting with each other. So look for those ways you can be. Number one, compassionate. Number two, have no expectations. If you're noticing yourself saying, I wish it was like this, or I wish I had that, or change the I wish to I will. I will be grateful for whatever that is. I will be grateful for today that person did the dishes for me. I will be grateful that we got to go out to dinner today. Look for even those really small things. It may not be the big things right now, especially if you're dealing with somebody who's chronically ill. So look to change the I wish to I will. And then finally, the last thing is disengage. And that sounds really, this is from my counselor, and this probably really, really helped me a couple years ago. Disengage. How am I supposed to disengage from the spouse that I'm with? I'm supposed to be so engaged, right? And unfortunately, we have all these movies in Hollywood that a lot of us have a very warped view of what marriage is supposed to look like anyway. And so we completely go into it believing that we are so enmeshed and so codependent with each other that the thought of being disengaged seems like a violation to the marriage contract. And so I really had to work through that with her and understand that this was not about a separation from the person or a violation, but that this was about releasing. This was about stop controlling, stop trying to fix the situation, about releasing myself so that I'm able to not get my self-worth from the other person. I think as a caregiver, the pitfall is we identify ourselves with that. And so I know for me, I was always looking for a way to make sure everything was okay. Like, oh, I'll make him breakfast. Oh, I'll do this. Oh, I'll do that. Like it was going to change it or fix it. It's okay to be helpful. But I know that there can be behaviors when you're dealing with somebody with chronic illness that can really pull apart your own self-worth. And for me, I think the most challenging part was I had already come through my own battle. I had come through cancer and I was lost myself. So I think instead of healing myself, I jumped on over to him and I lost myself even more. And so disengaging is really more about protecting your self-worth and that their illness doesn't have to define you. You still have to care for yourself. You still have to take care of your children or whatever the situation is. You still need to exercise, eat healthy, go out with friends. You still have to do those things for yourself because you will be a better, happier, more loving, compassionate, no expectation partner or mother or daughter if you are able to take care of yourself. So the 3 things are, again, what to do during the worst of the worst is number 1, have compassion. Number 2, no expectations. And number 3, disengage. I hope this helps you guys. Take a listen to my podcast. I'll be talking a little bit more about chronic beauty and what it's like to be a caretaker when you have a spouse to somebody who has chronic illness. So, all right, guys, have a good day.